those of you who are here today should be able to get a lot out of what we're doing today. We're going to be, if you have ever had any issues with uploading videos or sharing things on Box, and you've heard about Box a lot, Lily just put out an article last week that went on the Hub and then the Living Well newsletter. We'll be going over that here in the beginning, and then if you ever had any issues converting a video file, I'll show you a recommendation of of a tool that you can use, and then also some other video production recommendations as far as mics, cameras, and conference cams and things like that go. We'll go over those too, and then we'll leave the floor open at the end for any last questions that you have. And hopefully any questions you've been waiting or holding out on, or anything related to video production or technology in general, this is a good chance to go ahead and put those in the chat today, and we'll get them either throughout the presentation or at the end. So start off by, again, if this is your first, or if you've come to some of the other 3 sessions that we did, I'm Greg Lindberg. I'm the IT specialist for the Director's Office and Extension. We have Lily Morrissey, the database content specialist, joining me too, and she'll be presenting with us as well. So what we've discussed so far is we started out with how to first film your video in our first session, and we talked about how to storyboard and how to start telling that story. We had Jessica Hollinger, our communication specialist for the Director's Office, talk about some tips on what you can do when you first think about creating that first video. And then kind of some tips that we'll also share here at the end, with some like final tips of just straight recording things that you can be cognizant of. And then we also went into using Camtasia as a tool for your videos, and focusing primarily on Camtasia and how to use it for the first time, how to edit videos within Camtasia, and then how to then move that video once you're complete with that whole project, once you're finished with it, how to move that into YouTube, and how to finalize your video in YouTube as well. So like I said, today what we're going to focus on is kind of the last bit. So you've got your video on YouTube, but you now think you're an expert or you feel like you're an expert with Camtasia. So you're making videos all the time, but now you're running into some trouble and you need some help from some other people on a team for a project you're working on that are also working on this video. So you need to share that video project, that Camtasia project, with them so that they can make some edits. Or you have a question for me and Lily, you're having some audio issues or something, and you need to send that whole file to us, or you're having trouble just uploading your video in general, just internet issues. That's basically what we want to cover today, is some of those other things that we have been hearing about and coming across a lot throughout the summer and throughout a lot of these changes that we've had through quarantine and all those kinds of things. So I'll go ahead and let Lily start here with what we wanted to talk about first, as far as a survey that we'd like you to fill out if you have time after today's session, and I'll go ahead and let her talk about that now.
Hi, I'm going to share in the chat just now the video production webinar series survey that we created, and there's just a few questions on there so that hopefully we can get some feedback and learn more about things that we can improve on, and things that you guys would maybe like to hear about next time, and just give us a better insight of where we are at in terms of our webinar, and then hopefully things that we could do better, or things that we could maybe touch on next time. So moving on from there, I would love to show you a preview of my survey, but it doesn't seem to want to be working as fast as I would like it to.
You want me to open it on my screen and we could look at it? Yeah.
Otherwise we might end up spending some time.
Yeah, I don't know that. Let's see here. I think I still have it up.
Okay.
Not. I don't know if maybe there's a lot of things going on with Purdue technology, if some people haven't noticed, with email and things.
Oh, mine just loaded, so I could do it too.
Okay, sure. Yeah, if you want to share your screen, you go ahead.
Okay. So luckily it just loaded. So this is a preview of what the survey looks like. It's just a few shorter questions, multiple choice. And then some of them, depending on what you end up answering. So there's either 7 or 9 questions total. I'll just go ahead and just answer just a few for the moment, just to kind of give you guys a preview of what the second page looks like. So we have a spot in here too where you can grade us, slide it up and down.
Yeah, not too many Fs, please.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then it'll ask you kind of, you know, why did you feel this way? Just to kind of give us some notes that we can kind of work on for next time. Things, pointers, whatnot, that you guys would like to see us do better on. It would all be great to hear back from you guys. Moving forward to sharing your files. So you can share your files many different ways once you've created them. But what I like to do is go to Box. So Box is supported by Purdue University, which also gives us the peace of mind that it's more secure than using something else. So we do have, you know, you can use Dropbox, you can use Google Drive. But I will say with Google Drive is that typically it's going to be connected to your own personal Google account. So if you have a Gmail or anything like that, you've ever used a Google Docs, it's all going to kind of be connected. So just kind of be aware of that anything that you do personally will also be in this. So it's kind of mixing your personal with your professional. So I don't know if that's something that you would want to consider, maybe getting another Gmail account or use a Dropbox, but I personally like to use box.com. Once again, it's supported by Purdue and it's there for us to use. So I have created an entire folder that's just about Camtasia videos. So videos that I've made using Camtasia. I haven't used a different video making software since I started my position. I have in other positions, but so I just use this one for Camtasia videos that I've made. And then in order to go ahead and add videos, I would go over to the upper right-hand side and select upload, and then select folder. So I'll kind of show you guys in a couple minutes my computer is running very slow at the moment. So I'll show you guys in just a second how I bundle all of my folders together. Where is it? Okay, so I have everything saved, all of my videos saved in folders on my own personal computer, and then I would just select one of the folders that I'm trying to upload to Box, and then select upload, and then it'll just kind of pop it right into here. If your video isn't too long, it will only take a few seconds for it to upload. The larger the file, the longer the upload. And then I just name it whatever it needs to be named. So this makes it a lot easier for me to share this video with Greg or anybody else that I want to collaborate with. So you can head over to the more options button, and then you can download it again to your computer. You know, if it ends up getting deleted from your computer, you can download it right from there. You can decide to get rid of it. You can make a favorites, like a favorites whole entire section on box.com. And then there's other things that you can do here. So you can also share it with somebody by inviting them. So you can just plug their email address in, and then you can also create a link so that if you go ahead and create a link, I could just press copy and then share it with whoever I want to via email or anything like that. They can select the link and then head right in over to the folder that I shared with them. And you can also get there by just selecting the share button right over here, or you can also just copy a shared link. So it makes it really easy for you to share a file folder with anybody that you want to collaborate with. So I personally would recommend using Box. So how to package your Camtasia file folder. So if you're in Camtasia and then you head over to the left-hand side of the screen and click Save, it's going to save all of these kind of into one folder, but it will not save, it'll save the project separately. So if I save this as just this. It's just going to save it in an entirely different folder, and also on a project folder separately. So then when I head over to my folders, you can see that in the past if I open up one of my folders, it's going to show me that I have the MP4 and the project in here. But in order to get, I'm going to show you this one instead. So with Camtasia 5, I ended up saving it, and then it didn't end up putting the project folder in there. And you can see that it put the project folder down here. So it saves them separately. But if you are trying to share this with Greg or I or anyone else, if you want somebody else to be collaborating on it with you, the only way that they can open all of the things is if you move the project folder into that other folder that you have saved. So you're going to want to make sure that you put this TSC proj, that's what it's saved as. So the project folder in Camtasia, you're going to want to make sure that you put that right into the folder that Camtasia kind of creates for you. Without doing that, nobody will be able to access all of the media that's over in this bin. So it's really important that you put the project folder in the actual folder, so bundling them all together. And then it's also important to zip your folders. So by zipping your folder, you're going to end up creating a lot more space in the long run. So it's going to be compressing all of the data and downloading software, and then it's just going to make file transferring a lot faster. So you can just go ahead and do that by selecting your folder, and then selecting send to, and then just turning that into a zipped folder and going about it that way. So it just makes everything more compressed and easier to send on to the next person without creating a lot of space in your data and gigabytes without using a whole lot of space. So then I think the next thing that I'll mention is it's really important to make sure that you have really good internet connectivity so that, when you're going ahead and making these files and creating these videos, that you're not doing it where you kind of know that, your internet is a little bit untrustworthy. Just because you could end up losing your project, and you could end up kind of corrupting files and then not being able to open them. So for best practice, I always just say make sure that you feel like you are, with secure internet. If you don't feel like you're with secure internet, maybe you can head over to the office if it's open for you and you feel comfortable using that. Otherwise, you can also, use the parking lot of a McDonald's, anything where you feel that it's more secure for you to actually share these files and save them, just because you would hate for them to get corrupted and then not be able to open them. And then for best practice, we also say that using Camtasia as a Zoom recording backup is a great idea. So we are recording this webinar, and then in order to make sure that, if this is something that's really important that I don't lose, and maybe Zoom is only allowing us a certain amount of time, and I'm worried that we're going to end up losing some of our recording, and I need to, have this published for students or colleagues to review, ASAP. I'm going to make sure that I kind of use Camtasia and record my screen as a backup. That way it's automatically saving not only in Zoom from Zoom to your files, your computer, but also from Camtasia. So you have both to work with. Just kind of making sure that you're covered in all of your areas and that you're not going to end up losing footage or losing a file that you had created. And then with that, I believe I will turn it over to Greg.
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, the Camtasia kind of backing up a Zoom recording has been helpful to me in some instances. So I think we recommend that. I don't have to do that every time. I'm not doing it for this webinar now. But if it was, if something could happen where you never know when Zoom's getting that file to go into your computer, something could happen where it corrupts or anything could happen at that point. So it's always nice to have a backup. So, you know, that's a risk that you're taking for sometimes, like right now, if this didn't record properly or convert properly to my computer, then we could have an issue with having a recording of this, and then that's it. So you're taking that risk. But if it is something that you absolutely do not want to lose, then I agree with Lily that it's always good to have another recording backup, and then you don't have to save that. If everything went fine from Zoom's recording and everything turned out the way you want, then you can just delete that Camtasia recording. You can just stop the recording and then remove it right away so it doesn't eat up any space on your computer. But I always find that helpful. Another thing I think that Lily mentioned that we probably haven't reiterated enough throughout these sessions is saving your project file from the beginning. So it's one thing if we've had some comments about, or we've heard Camtasia crashing on some Windows or some work laptops and issues like that. So if you have been experiencing that, just like anything, if you're having those types of issues with Microsoft Office or something, saves as much as possible. Of course, also try and work with ITAP to fix those crashing issues, but or let us know as well. But always save, you know, if you've just made a bunch of edits, added a bunch of new transitions, save. So you don't lose any of your work, because again, anything can happen to where, you know, it could crash and you could lose some of that. So constantly save.
Hey, Greg. Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
Go ahead.
We do have a question. So somebody would like to know if we could review how you record in both Camtasia and Zoom at the same time. So did you want to show them that really quick? Or
Sure. Yeah. I could just review that real quick. I'm going to start sharing my screen anyways. So I have Camtasia up here. So basically, if you have the Zoom to set up, and you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to get the chat open as well so that I have it. Let's see. We have another person I had to admit into here. So if you have Zoom to set up to record, you can set up Zoom before your meeting to record automatically, or you can press the record button down at the bottom of Zoom, and then it'll be recording. And then when you stop the meeting, it'll automatically convert it to your desktop. As I kind of mentioned in some previous sessions, it is recommended now to save locally to your computer rather to the cloud of Zoom. So as you have that one recording in Zoom, then you can just do the record here, and then you would want to make sure that you have it on to record your screen. So you could even adjust, it's been a little wonky for me here, but sorry, it's weird when you're recording Camtasia at the same and sharing your screen sometimes. But so yeah, you can select the region that it shows and everything here, and then you would just click start recording. So as long as it's capturing that space that you want it to, then you should be fine. And then you would just end the recording at the end, stop the recording once you're done with your Zoom meeting, and then you would have it. Then you can just, if the Zoom recording had any issues, then you would at least have it in Camtasia, and you could save that project, and you could do it the same types of edits as you would if you moved it into Camtasia after having that MP4 from Zoom. I hope that kind of answers your question. But let's see, we had a little more on that while we're on the subject. So Abby Sampson asked, you're talking about saving a video while working on it. When I close Camtasia, will I lose my video? I feel like I have to do it all in one setting. No, you could just minimize Camtasia, and you could be recording it. So let's say you're getting ready to start your meeting, and it's an important meeting. You're recording it on Zoom already. You've clicked record on Zoom. It hasn't started yet, but you are recording on Zoom. You verified that, but you want to have a backup, and you could just do that record that we just went through, and then you could just get out of Camtasia and just do everything like normal, and it will record it. Um, I've done that multiple times, and you kind of just even forget. There's been times where I forgot that I was doing a backup in Camtasia, and then I come back to my computer like later, and I realize that I'm still recording. So you just have to remember, oh yeah, I was doing a backup recording in Camtasia too, and stop it. But most of the time, you won't even need that backup, but it's there for just a precaution. So let's see what we want to talk about now. Let me pull up. Is there anything else that I'm trying to think? I did want to mention too, when we talked about Box, that there also is, obviously, you're probably aware of Dropbox and Google Drive. You can use those things. Did you mention that already, Lily? I can't trying to remember if you did or not.
Yeah, I mentioned Dropbox and Google Drive, but I also mentioned that, using Google Drive is more connected to a personal account. So just kind of be aware of that.
Yeah, there's nothing saying that you can't use those, but feel Box is obviously the one that's recommended from the university. So if you can use that, do so. Okay, so when we look at, let's say you have a video that you recorded on iMovie and on your Mac computer, and you export that video and it's a .mov. Well, you're having trouble now. You can't edit it in Camtasia, or you just need it to be converted to an MP4 so that it's more flexible in YouTube and other things. So there are a lot of video converters out there. This is one that I'm going to recommend, and the link and the things that I show today, we'll have those all packaged as links, and we're going to be putting those on that video production page on the hub. So you will see all these again and be able to access them fairly easily. So this is any video converter, and there's a price here, but that's for things that, like converting DVDs and CDs and other things. But for what you need to use it for, you can just download it for free. So you don't have to worry about this buy now here. And then there are other options out there, but this is one that I haven't had any issues free. Some options out there will allow you to just upload your .mov or your Windows movie video file online, and then it will convert it for you. The only thing I don't like about that is that you're putting your video to that service, and some of those aren't necessarily super trustworthy. So it's hard to know which of these video converters that are free are pretty trustworthy. But this one, in my experience, I have not seen anything security-wise or anything to be concerned about. So if you can select Windows or Mac down here, and then just download it, and then install it on your computer. And of course, just like with any other application that you're not installing directly from Purdue, you probably would have to call ITAP if you don't have administrator rights on your computer, and they'll help you install it. Just let them know it's what it is. It's a video converter, and you won't have any issues. But this is what it looks like. So let's say I have a video, an MOV video. Let me get out of this. So if I click on that convert videos option, and it's very plain looking and all that. So let me go to where this is. I thought it would have popped up right away, but it didn't, of course. And you can see I have a billion folders. Nope, let's see. Okay. So I think sorry, I set up a folder for this earlier and trying to find it now. It actually might be, there we go. Okay, so I have this .mov file, and I open and add it. You could also drag and drop it onto here. And then right now it's set up in this profile section as MP4 video to be converted to. So that's what you would want. But as you can see, there's tons of other things on here. There's files for phone type files that would be for your phone. There's all these other different formats. But the main ones that you would want to click on are these film ones. So you can see there's flash video ones, which you probably would never be using. There's this last one is the one you would really look at the most. You've probably seen MPEG videos before. Those are pretty outdated. AVIs. What you really want is the MP4, and you can even do an, let's say you have an MP4 and you need to turn it to an MOV, so that you can work with it in iMovie. You could do that here too. So you could transfer an MP4 extension for video to an MOV. You could do that as well. But with MP4 selected right there, you then have, all you have to do then is just click convert now. The settings should all be the way you need them to be. So it's did that conversion. I believe it put it in my downloads maybe. So I think, yeah, so you can see that file that I just had, this video of a moon or something is now a dot, or is now an MP4 video. So, and so the same goes with, let me get this out of the way. Same goes with a Windows Windows video. So if you had a dot WMV extension, you could go ahead and add that, and you could, MP4 is already selected. You could just then click convert now. So if you had like 5 of these you needed to convert, you could also do that at the same time. You would just need to select them all by clicking on them and then control click, and you could convert them all at once to an MP4. But this is just a really easy, quick tool to convert, not just to MOV to MP4. You can do so many different conversions back and forth. So this is one that I highly recommend. So moving out of that, I wanted to talk about, and then also when you are doing any file conversion, the one that I just showed you now, you didn't need to mess with any settings, but do look at how if you do have any settings that you're not doing a 720 conversion for one video and then a 1080 for another. Just try to keep the quality consistent. I think is also very important, that you don't lose quality when going from one format to another, that you try to keep that consistency as much as you can. And sometimes that just depends on the file itself and what type of file you're transferring it to. But like the one I showed you right now, you shouldn't have to have those concerns. And then, so if we're looking at, let's go. So if we're looking at equipment recommendations, some things that we've talked about in the beginning, but we really didn't give any full recommendations. So any smartphone for a short video or a segment in a video, I think is fine. I think we're all pretty aware that the camera on a lot of newer smartphones is as good as some digital cameras that you can purchase for under $200 or even under $100, that you're going to get just as good quality with your smartphone as you are with those. So those are fine, but also keep in mind, not the best for longer videos. If you're doing like a over 10-minute video on your phone, you're going to have, it's not going to be the best for you to transfer that somewhere. You want to make sure that your phone, you're able to connect it to your computer. I think we talked about that in our first session. That way you're able to easily just drag and drop that file into your computer or onto a zip drive. If you're trying to send a video from your phone to your email or to a Google Drive or something, and it's over 3 minutes and it's longer than that, it could take quite a while. So keep that in mind, and be aware that filming on your phone, for if you're using your phone and a different camera for your video, I've seen some videos which is fine. I think when you're the way that things have been, where you can't get everyone together, some people have to shoot on different phones and cameras. I think a lot of people are understand that, but if you can control it and you can shoot on the same camera or the same type of phone, you kind of have more control of what that quality will be consistent of. Because I've definitely seen a lot of videos lately, because of everything, that might get, you might have a clip that goes to somebody else that's a little grainier or the audio isn't as good. And that's understandable. But if you're able to control that as much as possible across the board, you're going to have a smoother, better looking video as far as that goes. Some other just video recommendations, like I said, there's the Sony CyberShot is like a newer one, and it's just like a little camera the size of a phone, and that's under $100 around there, like $125. Same with the Panasonic Lumix. That's around the same price too. So those are both very affordable. But then we have a picture here too. I'm sure we're all, many of us have seen like the Nikons, great for photography, lots of different interchangeable lenses that you can use. But even that's like one of the medium, lower models that they have, and that's about $899. So it's, do you need that type of camera? Are you going to be able to utilize all the features that go into it? If you're interested in learning more how to use those more higher quality cameras than just your phone or something, definitely go ahead and do that. Just be, is it really necessary for the type of videos that you're creating? Is something to think about, but it's definitely an option out there. And I think that's a good one that isn't too expensive, because you can get pretty high up in price when you want to get a nicer camera and things like that. And then also there's still GoPros are also a good option, especially if you're doing something with a lot of movement. A few years ago, we did like the golf cart karaoke at the state fair, and we hooked up GoPros to the golf carts. So there's websites where you can actually rent GoPros too for a week. You can rent cameras, you can rent all kinds of things. So those places are available if you want to look at different technology and not necessarily keep it, and you just want to rent them and use them for a special video. Those types of sites are out there, and we'll share that in our recommendation resource list as well. But just keep that in mind, that there's so many different options for you to be creative as far as like what GoPros can do for those types of videos where you might be moving around more, showing more action, or somebody moving around. We at the office, I think we still have the one where you can put it on your head and walk around with the GoPro, but I don't know how popular those are still being used. But being as small as they are, those are also good for we used some of the GoPros we have just for like the county fairs, like just doing a time lapse. They're good for like time lapse videos as well. So you can like mount them in a certain location and just show, try and get as much footage throughout the whole day, and then time lapse that is something that you can do with something like a GoPro as well. So as far as mics, audio go, we've had a couple recommendations recently that some people have asked about as far as lavalier, lapel mics. I will share that option here too. I'll close out of this so you guys can see it, where that is on Amazon. But it kind of looks like this. There is one that I prefer personally that looks like this. It's actually quite small. It's not as big as it looks, but it's one that plugs into phones and iPads. So if you're recording with your phone, you have that little clip mic that you can put on to your shirt. And this one is like about $30, and I think works really well, which is pretty inexpensive for all that it does as far as capturing good audio, especially if you're out in the field somewhere and recording a video. As far as like recording a video at home from your computer, I think the Shure mic, this is one that I've used in the past, is around $100. It's kind of like an industry standard, but there's so many out there. There's a lot that YouTubers use, like the Blue mics, and if you just we'll give you more recommendations on these as well, but there's a lot that, as far as you don't need to spend too much, there's a lot within that under 100 or 150 range that you can get just the best quality mic that you need for your home videos or even podcasts and things like that. So, and then handheld recorders are another option too. There's the Tascam and the Zoom, not like the webinar, but it's actually a little handheld audio recorder that can connect. You can connect it with your phone. There's a lot of different adapters, but It's good if you need separate audio, if you need a lot of clean audio tracks. There's people that also use these for podcasts as well too. It's just a more advanced audio recorder, but we'll share some of those. We'll share those recommendations on that site too. And once I'm done with this, I'll show you where some of these are, what those links look like. But as far as conference cams go too, we've had plenty of people reach out to us about wanting to stay more socially distanced in their conference room and be able to, or if they're teaching and they want to capture movement as they're going along. This is, so there's the first Logitech one here too, is just the standard, it's got a little pole and then the ball camera. That's fine for usually just a single person or at your desk type camera. But the Logitech Connect, I think, is about $500. And some offices may already have this. That's what we use in the director's office. But this one will track your movement, and you can put it in the, you can locate it anywhere, and it picks up audio pretty well from the speaker that it has here. So I feel like it's pretty robust for its size, and in a very normal size conference room, it works really well for capturing everybody at the table or anybody that might be, even if you have it turned around and you have somebody presenting, I feel like it captures them pretty well too. The other option is the Logitech Group for an Ever. That would just be the next level as far as a much bigger size room or group of people. And then when you're thinking of what type of camera you need as far as like conferencing goes, just think about, that room that you're going to put it in, what type of speakers you're going to have, where you would want the microphone to be to pick up everybody. Can you just sit it in the center of the conference room table? Does it need to go somewhere else? And all of these, again, are for the first time, they all connect to Zoom really easily. So they just connect to your laptop and they work very well with Zoom. They're made to work with Zoom well. So those are ones that we've used and explored with and definitely recommend. So let me close out of this for a second before I get into any additional tips. Excuse me. So, go ahead.
We do have a question. So they would like to know, for sharing on Zoom, should it be fairly low resolution? I think it's on a case-by-case basis. So I know Zoom does 1080p for like a larger broadcasted conference call, but otherwise I think Zoom suggests doing 720.
Yeah. I mean, usually the standard setting, the default settings are just fine as far as quality. I feel like I've never had any issues with a recording just with the default settings. The only issues that you could encounter is if like that host or other participants might have some dips in quality because of their connectivity, those kinds of things. But other than that, I think that Zoom is pretty good with that output. Is that the only other question for right now?
Yep, that's it for the moment.
So yeah, I was showing first the lapel mics. This is, so if you just Googled like lapel mics on Amazon, you're going to see a lot of other good options. There's some that are a little cheaper, but like I said, this is one that I've actually used and like. But there are a lot of other options out there that are not bad to try as well. You can also look, you don't have to use Amazon. There's a lot of like government connection is one where we get a lot of different things that we need as far as hardware goes. And then looking at the Logitech stuff again, this is the that first option that I was talking about that is good just for a single desk if you need to. So typically Zoom, I think a lot of us have been fine with I think a majority of us have been using our built-in cameras, but this is another good option, and there's even more inexpensive ones that are just as efficient if you're just looking for a desktop video conferencing camera. But this one also has the speaker and microphone built in too, which gives it a little extra edge. But then there's the Connect that I was talking about. It has the Bluetooth speakerphone, and it says home office, but like I said, in an office, if you're having about up to 10 to 12 people. I feel like this one has worked pretty well. Now, if you're trying to be really distant, it's going to take some testing out too. I think every district office still has one of these, maybe not this newest version, but one of these bigger group Logitech conference cams. So this one also has the camera that can track your movement. And then it also has the speaker and microphone that you can put in a different location. So the camera can go on one side, this can go in the middle of the table, and then you also have the remote. And this one has worked out pretty well too. So I know that one can be, like I said, your district should have that available if you absolutely need it for a certain type of event or something, or it could be purchased as well, but it's one of the more pricier options, as you can see. Let's see. I think that is it as far as what I wanted to show there, but then these tips that I have. So just additional video tips. I didn't even finish that right there. So recording well-lit room. I know Lily has mentioned that, and I believe Joan did too, is think about lighting and how it is outside. When you're filming your video, obviously you can't control the weather and the lighting, but you can control kind of where you're shooting from, as far as shadows and things like that go. Consider sound and noise around you. Obviously if you're playing around like kids playing on a playground or something, maybe if you can move further or away, or what is it going to capture that you might not want to capture outside of you talking. And then when you think of framing the shot, you think of getting the person speaking right in the center. You want to make the shot capture everything you want within a frame, and you don't want to get anything outside of that shouldn't be visible. Of course, you can crop, in Camtasia a little bit if you need to, but always think of framing in the beginning helps to remove clutter that might be unnecessary in that shot. Also, steadying the shot, we also will put some recommendations as far as tripods that can go, all those video like recommendations. As far as cameras go, there's a lot of tripods that can fit your phone, but will also work with one like a Nikon, will work with a GoPro. It will there's tripods that will just fit anything. So those are usually the best. That way you can just use them multi-purposely for different types of cameras. And then always shoot horizontally. No need to try and do artsy vertical or sideways or slanted shots and things like that. Always try and keep it a horizontal shot with the camera. We mentioned in the first session, following a script and a storyboard, even if it's just an outline of what you want to see happen or what you want to say, always helps to be prepared, but also be prepared and be okay with knowing that you may have to reshoot something. So if you record your 3-minute video and for some reason it didn't record, the record button wasn't pressed, or somebody made a mistake, or the technology failed in some way, just always be prepared that you could have to reshoot something, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same way. That can just be another chance to just do an even better a shot, or a better sometimes it's better even when you accident. I know there's times where I've messed up the first or second thing that I'm filming, and then it's kind of a relief, and the third one is the best take. So sometimes it's a blessing in disguise having to do that as well. Any tips that you have, Lily, that I didn't think of, or anything you want to share?
Most of what I would have mentioned too. I think one thing I will mention is that using Canva to make a video. So I have had a few people that have made videos in Canva, and Canva is a lot of fun to play around with and make graphic designs and things like that, but just kind of be aware that it's not I would use it for a shorter, fun, maybe shorter video that's, only going out to social media or something like that. I wouldn't use it for any longer video. I guess as a rule of thumb, I would think that any video under 3 minutes, if you really want to use Canva, that would be perfectly fine. But generally anything over that, you're kind of running into a few issues. I would say that it's not necessarily as stable as Camtasia. You can do fun things with it, and you can also, record or make a video in Canva and then put it in Camtasia. So that's another option. So if you are just looking to do different features with Canva, things like that, you can kind of mix and match, but just be aware to not kind of do too much with Canva and then try to backtrack or anything like that. Just kind of trying to keep it at a consistent level.
Yeah, thanks. And we didn't in this series get too much into if you're using iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, or another one that is very popular is Final Cut Pro. If you have any questions on those, or you run into issues, feel free to reach out to us. We can add some of those links on some of the help topics for those types of software into that resource section on the video production page. So we'll keep you updated on that. I'm going to go ahead and, since I do have it, you might have it too, Lily, I'll post the link in the chat just one more time for the Qualtrics. Lily will also be putting that out on the hub in the e-news. So if you don't catch it here, that way we can get everybody that did attend a chance to fill that out. So yeah, any questions? Looks like we have one now, but feel free to, we have about 9 minutes left. Any questions you have, technology, video related, feel free. So Adobe Premiere is another software available to us in Adobe Suite. Any pros and cons? It's been quite a while since I've used Adobe Premiere. You've had some experience in it, Lily, or?
Yeah, I've used Adobe Premiere quite a bit. I would say that I think that Camtasia is a little bit more beginner friendly, but if you're comfortable using Adobe Premiere, then by all means, I think Adobe works just fine. If that's what you're used to using. Like I said, I think Camtasia is a little bit more straight to the point, but I think Premiere also is perfectly fine to use. I've never had any issues with it.
I think Premiere, just because it's packaged with other Adobe products, if you're familiar with using like Photoshop and things like that, and you have the Adobe package, you might just have more familiarity with they just sync well together. If you're doing something like in Photoshop or Flash or something, and you're putting it all with Premiere, you might be versed in doing that. And that's when a lot of Adobe products make sense, because same with like Microsoft Office products, they just work well together. What is your basic feeling about Kaltura? So yeah, I haven't used Kaltura as much. That's just I don't even know the best way to explain it other than it's the video capturing series or system that you can use that goes along with Media Space that we kind of went over. So yeah, I don't think of it in terms of like Zoom. I think of it as capturing videos, but I always hear Media Space and Kaltura kind of put together. I feel like Kaltura has kind of been, I'm trying to think of the, not discontinued, but kind of dwindling in its usage or its promotion as much. So I don't know. I haven't heard I just don't hear a lot about it as much anymore. And that's just, I don't know how well Purdue is supporting Kaltura, even though it's still there and available to use. Yep. Any other questions? Well, if we don't see any pop up while I'm saying goodbye, then thank you guys for, especially those of you that just popped in for the first time, or those of you who stuck around for all 4 sessions. We really appreciate it. And again, this session will be on our video production page, but we did get another question. And I knew that would happen. how can we reach out to you after this training for future questions? So we can put that on the video production page too. So if you just go right there, but you can also, let me just go ahead and share it real quick. If you do go to the hub, you can always email us directly. And Lily, if you want to put your email address on there, I'll put mine in the chat as well. But if you go to the hub anytime, you can see all of the everybody in the director's office. So if you clicked on staff directory here, you can see there's a director's office option. And we still have to get Lily up there because we need to get a picture for her. But you can see my email address and information here. And that's one place where you can find all the coordinators, but that's just one place. But again, you can, I'll put my email in the chat too. Yep. Do you see any, is there any other questions? Okay, well, again, thanks for joining. And this video will be up on the hub soon, and we'll also have an article about the survey if you missed that link here, but we appreciate it if you can fill it out and give us some feedback, because we'd like to do another series if we continue more things on video production or other types of technology that you're interested. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Lily.
Thank you. Bye.